Welcome to Innovate Illinois, a show about entrepreneurship and innovation right here in Urbana-Champaign. I'm your host, Andy Singer, and I'm a professor here at the University of Illinois. The university has developed a strong network of resources for entrepreneurs. There are many examples of entrepreneurs in our community, ranging from companies that have taken their ideas and commercialized them to some new student ventures that are just getting started. In today's show, we'll focus on innovative materials and some companies that have looked at ways to commercialize them. From a company developing a self-healing coating to a student creating an antimicrobial insert to preserve milk to a team focused on developing a shear thickening fluid that can help athletes. We have faculty, alumni, and students right here on campus making a difference. Join us as we learn how these entrepreneurs brought their products to life. Next on Innovate at Illinois. First up, Bleill from the Illinois Entrepreneurship Center was able to catch up with two representatives from Autonomic Materials Incorporated. AMI is a startup that grew out of the Autonomic Materials Research Group at the Beckman Institute, and they're a leader in self-healing technologies for coatings.
Hi, I'm Laura Weisskopf-Bleill, and I'm here today at Enterprise Works with Gerald Wilson and Magnus Anderson from Autonomic Materials. Tell us about your company.
We're commercializing and developing self-healing technologies for coatings. In other words, we're making paint that heals itself.
Tell us about the company's technology and its commercial potential.
Self-healing paint or self-healing polymer systems, it's all about microencapsulated healing agents. Microcapsules are small containers with a liquid healing agent inside of them. They're typically the size of a human hair. These small microcapsules are embedded in the material, in this case the paint. So when damage goes through the material, the microcapsules open up and release the healing agent to the site of damage. So that's the self-healing part of it. There's no external intervention required. The damage triggers the healing mechanism. If we're looking at potential applications for this, think about large structures made out of steel. Corrosion is a very large problem. It's estimated that the total cost of corrosion in the US alone is right around $900 billion a year. To reach the market, we've positioned our technology as an additive. So we will make and sell microcapsules. We're working both with the coatings producers, the people that make coatings. They will take our microcapsules and add them to their existing coatings. We're also working with end users, customers. Typical applications are large structures made out of steel, where downtime translates to loss in terms of both money and time. Supertankers, oil platforms, oil and gas distribution pipelines, marine, general industrial maintenance coatings, large structures made out of steel.
So does this have consumer applications as well?
We're mainly targeting industrial applications, but there's definitely an interest from the consumer side as well.
So Gerald, tell us about your entrepreneurial journey.
You know, I've always been interested in working at the interface of technology and business. So being part of the Autonomous Materials Systems group up at the Beckman Institute, it was obvious to see that there was some commercial potential for the technology that we were developing. And so when it was time to get things off the ground, get a company founded, Professor Scott White, who was my research advisor at the time and is one of the founders of the company, asked me if I was interested in coming on board to be on the ground level, really, of getting a company started. And it seemed like the perfect fit for combining both my professional interests.
So you were a scientist working in the lab that actually developed this technology?
That's correct. I was a graduate student in the lab working with a number of different professors, including Professor Scott White and Professor Jeff Moore, working on developing new self-healing chemistries for applications varying from what we're doing right now, self-healing coatings, to reinforced composite materials, to self-healing biomaterials, for example.
So that was actually going to be my next question, that AMI was founded by Scott White, who's a renowned University of Illinois professor in aerospace engineering. What is his role with the company currently, as well as any other founders, and how do you all work together? It's somewhat unusual. A lot of times on this program we've interviewed faculty who are heading up their company, but in this case it's been delegated to you two who are directing the day-to-day operations of the company.
It actually works really well. You know, Scott was part of a team of 4 professors who actually founded the company. He took the lead and remains very involved on a day-to-day basis. He serves as the chairman of the board of directors, and you know, having 4 professors who started the company sort of formed a natural basis for a scientific advisory board. And so this is a group that we meet with very regularly to discuss mainly technical challenges, things that have to do with, you know, development challenges in the lab, intellectual property, things like that. So we meet with the 4 scientific co-founders of the company fairly regularly, and they continue to support us and stay involved and are vested in our success.
So you had mentioned that this technology came out of the Beckman Institute. Is there continue to be a relationship, lab space, et cetera, with the Beckman Institute, or how has that progressed?
Definitely. That's been key throughout the whole process of this company. We have constant access to through facilities use agreements with the resources we need at the university. For a company of our size, it would be impossible to put those resources in place. For example, the microscopy suite up at the Beckman Institute, we have first-class access, first-class service in that facility. School of Chemical Sciences, Material Science Laboratory, all of these we have access to through these facilities use agreement. And specifically through the research group, we keep a very close collaboration with them so that we are aware of everything that goes on there. And so we're ready when the next big thing comes out, we're ready to commercialize it.
How has Illinois Ventures impacted the company?
The short answer is that without Illinois Ventures, this would have been a very much different story in the beginning. You know, they provided seed funding in the beginning to get this out of the research lab and into the real world. With seed funding from Illinois Ventures, we were able to set up our first development lab here in the Enterprise Works. Illinois Ventures were key in helping us out, not only raising our first round of funding, but also with day-to-day operational guidance during the first year before we had our CEO. And they were also instrumental in the process of recruiting a CEO. And to this day, Illinois Ventures is actually the lead investor in our company.
So you mentioned that you have a lab here at Enterprise Works. How has the incubator facilitated and influenced the growth and prosperity of AMI?
Well, I mean, where do we begin? So many different ways. I mean, it's been absolutely invaluable for us to be in this environment. But the 2 key things that I can think of are 1, speed. You know, speed is an important competitive advantage for a startup. You know, after protecting your technology, getting to the market as quickly as possible is really important. And so Enterprise Works plays a key role in that because, instead of spending time, trying to find, workspace, lab space that suits their needs and customize it to do the things we do, we were able to come in here, get space that works for us and hit the ground running. And the second really key thing, I think, is, most entrepreneurs feel like entrepreneurship is really a solitary journey in a way. There's a tendency to think that a lot of people don't really understand what it's like being right there at the cutting edge trying to bring new technology to the marketplace. So having an environment where you can bring a technology to the market around people who are doing the exact same thing with infrastructure that actually facilitates that process is really important. And I think the leadership of Enterprise Works and the Research Park does a good job of bringing entrepreneurs together to create an ecosystem that we can all grow and as professionals, but also allow our companies to flourish.
So what do you think does the future hold for AMI, and what are your goals?
Well, right now we're in the middle of raising our second round of financing, and we're hoping to close that very soon. In the short term, this will allow us to continue our current customer development efforts. We have enormous interest from the market, and we actually have to be very selective who we work with. With our limited bandwidth, we just have to focus in on the fastest moving projects, and also we try to have a kind of a portfolio approach to our accounts where we mix smaller strategic players with large companies where the large volumes will be eventually. Long term, we will continue to develop new chemistries that will improve the performance of a number of new exciting technologies.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Laura. Stay tuned. After the break, we'll hear from a graduate student who's using silver to help preserve milk. Sounds innovative. We'll be back.
I hire Illini.
I hire Illini because they're prepared to solve real-world problems.
Because they understand how innovation can improve people's lives.
Because Illinois has a tradition of excellence.
I hire Illini because they're brilliant leaders.
I hire Illini because they have great potential.
Because I need top-notch talent.
I hire Illini because I have high expectations.
I hire Illini because they're hard workers.
I hire Illini because we need more orange and blue in the office.
Because I know they're going to be successful.
I hire Illini because when I yell I-L-L, I want a response.
But don't tell my alma mater.
I
hire Illini.
Who are you hiring?
Find out for yourself how these companies and more are hiring Illini.